either hand-drawn or slightly traced. You've got those as an underlay, so make sure they're underneath that trace paper. And we're going to start with that tree in the upper left of slide 59. Right in the middle of it, just want you to sort of imagine a 4 or 5 star figure, kind of like that. Just start with that kind of in the middle, like some poor spider that's fallen to its death or was squashed underneath someone's foot. So just sort of this kind of starfish pattern. That represents the mass of the tree in the center and its primary branches coming out from the trunk itself. Okay? So that's going to represent trunk plus primary branches. Conceptually now, we'll start to think about this in terms of some divisions. So secondary branches are going to be around those, tertiary branches, and then finally the exterior of the canopy itself. So if we start with a 4, 5, or 6-pointed star in the middle there, we then can start to take away secondary branches off of that. This is all fine liner. So I'll do at least 3 or even 4 secondary branches coming off of those. They can cross over. They don't have to be independent. They can cross over and overlap. This is almost like when a stone hits your windshield and you start to see the crack. Okay. So if this 4 or 5 or 6-pointed star represented the trunk and the primary branches, these tentacles represent the secondary branches, then we'll take the tertiary branches all the way to the limit of that circle. And again, they can overlap. Tertiary branches, we'll take them all the way to the limit of that circle. They don't have to all go to the circle, but if they all stop kind of at the circle there, it gives a certain uniformity to the tree. Okay. Very basic deciduous tree and plant. Perfect winter tree, right? Nothing on it. Okay. So you're doing a plan in black and white, that's as far as you go. Right there. You're not doing any color at all. But if you wanted to add sort of an outline to it, we can sort of use a texture technique from our first week of studies and reinforce that feeling of a circle there, just to kind of give the indication of the edge of the canopy. So that's your very basic, almost universal deciduous tree there. That's one technique. There are other techniques out there. They were developed by different landscape architects, different artists, because they felt that they were faster. Okay? The second technique I call the pinwheel technique. It's the top middle of the row of the sixplex there on slide 59. We call it the pinwheel technique. Starts in the center, makes a blade going to the out, just a big kind of knife blade. There. And then it has an opposing knife blade that goes right about to the center there. And then it just sort of treats that as sort of a radius point, and it has a series of petal or blade-like tentacles that extend from there as well as regular lines. Remember, these techniques were developed for speed, not necessarily for accuracy, just to give the illusion of several branches coming together and giving a sense of body to this tree. We can add a broken, jangly line on the exterior of that just to reinforce the shape of the canopy. Developed for speed. Here's on slide 60, the example from Mike Lynn. Here's an example of the pinwheel just down here. So it's a series of blades, 5 or 6 blades coming from the center, and then a series of straight lines filling in between. This is slide 60, lower row. Okay. Next, I call a snowball. Okay. It's just an overhead opaque view with a few holidays or a few windows into the lower part of the canopy, but it looks kind of like a packed snowball. We'll start that just with an exterior broken line, jangly line like that. And then we'll look for little holidays or negative spaces in between there, represent little views through a solid canopy. A variation of this one is next. You can see it's much more of a see, it's much more of almost an animal, almost like shape coming down here before it starts to make its secondary and tertiary branches. So that might be a different species of tree. So we'll just kind of do a kind of thing like that. And then each of these become their own secondary branches. Tertiary branches. You take them all the way to the edge of the canopy. And then kind of bring those together. So maybe that's a different species of tree. Take the tertiary branches all the way to the canopy itself. So it's just a variation of this one. It has a lot more open space in between. Next is a conifer tree. It's a very simple radius point. we're going to put more lines on the shaded side. Very simple conifer technique. So a radius point, a series of lines extending in higher concentrations on the shaded side and lower concentration on the sunny side. And then we join those together. Challenge is to try to join them now. Whoop. Yoop. Yoop. There. That's a simple conifer, evergreen tree. A more complex hatched conifer is almost imagining if you're looking straight down that conifer tree, you would see successive hatched layers. But again, more higher concentration of hatches on the shaded side of the tree. So, looking at the radius point, we just start rows of hatch. I start with the entire exterior of the circle, and then I start to layer up on the shaded side of the tree. Will become the shaded side. And then we'll start to work my way up to what would be the top of the conifer tree, which is at the radius point. Landscape architects use this technique for topography, so that's topographic representation there. A little bit of ground planting here, maybe some ornamentals. Simple radius points. A little bit of overlap. We could have fun with this.